Hello, this is Tormod making a video from the southwest coast of Norway. Um, I would like to talk about change and words, schizophrenia, and self-forgiveness. So, there are many systems in our world, in our life, that we need to change. There are many systems in our world that needs to change. Money system, agriculture, family systems, school systems, prison systems, how we share the world's resources, how we live, practically work systems, money, all that stuff. But what we often fail at realizing is that we need to start with the self to imply change. The only way we're going to face change or find change in our living is by starting with ourself and facing self for all the parts of self that have been suppressed and denied. Those parts the most. Those parts the most that have been suppressed and denied and hidden within the very self. Okay? So that we need to take out these personas, these trauma, these memories, these energies, these addictions, these suppressions, to write them out, to get them out of our system and forgive it all in great detail. Self-forgiveness is there the very best tool to use to change the reality of self. So that we are all living words, in the sense that most of us are living emotional words, because all of us have had trauma in our life, trauma or drama in our life. And the words that resonates from these traumas, from this drama that is hidden and suppressed and denied within us, stories that we want to suppress and medicate away. These particular stories and traumas and dramas are the very stories and memories that we need to forgive as self. Because within a trauma, a drama, a emotional memory, we are living emotions, we're living anxiety, we're living aggression, we're living depression, war, abuse, blame, judgment, fear, and doubt. All these different, huge, complicated emotions that pin us down into our inferior self, into our lesser than, into abuse of whatever substance or life form you may imagine, so that we live out our abuse from how the mind is rigged with suppressing and denying for the trauma, for the drama, for the emotions in our body. The trauma, the drama, the emotions, the bad stuff is suppressed and denied from our minds into our bodies, and from there, we develop sickness, or you see all the misery being played out in the world, like in Syria, Iraq, etc., 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 etc. Or you develop cancer, or you develop some illness, some other illness, because of suppressed and denied past memories and emotions and traumas and drama. So, I have lived for 41 years now with schizophrenia. I was born schizophrenic. Schizophrenia comes before the hereafter, before I was conceived, before I was created in the belly of my mother. Before I was created, there was already a system in place for me to be born with that. Okay? A form of reincarnation application, you might say. So, schizophrenia is basically a war in the mind, a war in the head. It's like this, like you have 2 or 3 personalities, one who is positive, one who is negative, and one who is neutral. Most often this is what you find. And those 3 personalities are having a balancing act, or a literal war between each other. These 2 or 3 personalities are having a balancing act, a war inside the mind, inside the head of the being. That is the basic of schizophrenia. In addition to that, you have the symptoms of voice in the head, hallucinations, conspiring thoughts, concerning thoughts, lots and lots of emotional trauma and pain, and a life generally in a lot of addictions and suffering and misery, basically, sickness. You're often stigmatized, and you're left feeling like an outcast, like you're not wanted, like you can't even appreciate yourself and nobody else, and so on and so on and so on. And a very difficult life, you might say, for the majority of the people in the West who has this diagnosis. What might build upon these 3 personalities is that they might develop the minds of their own. Like then you have different mind units that you have to relate to and be responsible for. You have then different 2 or 3 or 4 mind boxes, mind units, okay, that you have to be responsible for. So with schizophrenia, it's much more difficult to live because the personalities are so the arrangement of this balancing act, this war, is something that is created from the before the reincarnation process, basically, and this balancing act, this war in the head, is then the symptom or the illness itself, you might say, between these 2 or 3 personalities that are active at once, trying to be in dominance of me, and then they have all this voices, this pain, this frictions, this noise, backshots, bad, disturbing conversations, negative voices, etc. Because of a war between a positive, a negative, and a neutral personality in the mind system. Okay. So that is some of what we at Destiny have been working with now for over a decade, to learn these mind systems, to learn what it is to live a personality. What does a personality consist of? How is that? How am I living a personality from the mind into my living application? How does that work? How does that take place in physical, practical reality, from the imaginary mind to the practical living application where it's acting out, you might say? How does that take place? How does thought make me who I am, basically? that is some of what we deal with in Destiny. That I've been working now for 8 years with applying this with this specific tool of self-forgiveness, because with self-forgiveness, ladies and gentlemen, with self-forgiveness, I get to loosen up in the conspiracy, in the connections, in the knots between my mind, my energetic imaginary mind, and the body, the physical body and the being. The physical body and the being, the substance, my life, my essence, my physicality, and the imaginary mind. Between there, that's where the action is, obviously, you know? So, with self-forgiveness, we learn to release these knots, these conspiracies within self, these lies, these levels of abuse, addictions, beliefs, opinions, blame, emotions, all these things that are making the mind in control of the physical body, like the lightning energetic mind have been in dominance of the physical body, the substance, the life form, like a master-slave relationship. A master-slave relationship with their very self. Now, be careful not to reject the mind or fear the mind. The mind is a part of me. I will always have a mind. In this life, I will always have a mind. Okay? But instead of fearing it or living under that master-slave relationship, being abused by my mind, basically by my mind's programs, I can forgive it. I can embrace it completely as myself. I can embrace it completely. Okay? And accept myself as the totality of what I am. The totality of me as a being, as a body. And let my body and let my being be in charge. And let my mind deal with the calculations and the imaginary and things that, you know, I can picture things and imagine things in my mind and use that for something constructive, as for physical, best for all reality. And leave the body and the being in charge, you might say, in that essence, in that life. And let life be the leading force. Let life be the leading force. And let mind be whatever, something of not abusive to the body, to life. Okay? Learn to handle one's mind. Learn to master the mind with destiny, you know? That is what we do in practical terms. So there's a little rant about that, because, you know, we're all living words. We're living words, emotional words, impact, trauma, drama, things that happen to us, that shape us, basically, that make us who we are, in our many faults, in our blame, in our judgment, in our fear, in our depression, in our aggression, over and over and over again. These emotions. Instead of working with self-forgiveness, okay, to release these conspiracies, these energy bundles, these beliefs in self, and let go of that. By forgiveness, getting an overview, an understanding of the matter. I can understand the matter. Now I can change myself because I understand it, because I have forgiven it. I can change myself because I understand the concept, the issue, the problem, because I have forgiven it and have that overview. So self-forgiveness, ladies and gentlemen, self-forgiveness is the very key thing to notice here, to work on, to talk to self, to heal self from within. That's the only place you're going to see real healing, from within the self. Okay? So there are many issues and problems in our world. There are also many changes taking place in the world. They may be not too visible, but they are there, and they are happening, and they are moving. But if we want to have change, who has got to change? You and me have got to change if we would like to see change. And self-forgiveness is the very best tool to create change as self. So if you have questions about schizophrenia, how schizophrenia works, how self-forgiveness works with schizophrenia, with untying these conspiracies, these reactions, these thoughts, these voices in the head, if you have questions about this, let me know. Today I can live words with much more ease, like I can live the word patience, a word that's patience what I'm living today, because I can exchange the word patience with all the emotional trauma words, because I've forgiven all that memory, all those addictions to those memories. And now I can rather choose the word patience or the word calm or stable or any other word that I find supportive to use, to breathe, to live that word, instead of living in emotional same old, you know? So that I take charge of what words I live, what guidelines I live, that I make sure that I'm cultivating myself with a word, and that if I experience reactions or thinking or voice in the head or problems of any kind, I can forgive it, understand it, let it go, and breathe without the conspiracy, and be with my new living word. Self-forgiveness is the big deal. If we want to see change, a better world for all, self-forgiveness is the way. Fail me not. Okay? And it will be worth it in the long haul. Talking to self is one of the challenges. Writing to self is one of the challenges. Forgiving the self, because I have been my own worst judge. I have been my own worst enemy. And in many ways, I have been my own worst being, sort of. But by forgiving myself, okay? By forgiving myself, I'm bringing all that juice back to myself, and just finding that divinity within myself, and the beingness within me to live and to express itself beyond the programs and systems of mind, beyond the enslavement, relationship of mind and body, and to breathe, and to be myself in common sense, what is best for all, self-forgiveness, and so on. If you have questions about schizophrenia, self-forgiveness, anything at all, let me know. Feel free to ask me questions, and I'll see you around. Thank you.